Okay, and then I have a few slides to go through as well as some comments to share, and then the bulk of the time is really to just hear from you, your questions, comments, and feedback. There is a lot of information, a lot of work that is being done related to the charter amendments. And so, so I'll go through the information first. It's probably about 10 or 15 minutes, and I'd love to reserve more time just to hear from you. So, so thanks, Anna, for the introduction. Again, Jennifer Chang with the city transition team. I'm one of the newer members of the team, having joined about 3 months ago in June. But however, I'm not new to the city. I have been working at the city in housing with the Portland Housing Bureau 14 years prior. So kind of houselessness and affordable housing definitely kind of part of the work that I had in the earlier years. So tonight we'd just like to share an update around what is going on with the city transition. So just to start off, back in November of 2022, Portlanders voted to change the city government in 3 significant ways. So it's reflected here. We'll go through those 3 main changes. First, there was a change to the way people or elected officials are elected. So it is allowing Portland voters to rank candidates for city council in the order of preference using what we call ranked choice voting. I'll go into this a little later in the presentation about how it's different from what we have today. But that's the first change, is being able to vote for elected officials in city council based using a ranked choice voting method. Second, that there was a change Portlanders approved to create 4 geographic districts in the city of Portland. So prior to this change, what we have in place now is citywide elections, right? If someone is running for city council or the mayor, they're running citywide. However, with the second change, it's creating 4 districts in the city of Portland. And then within each of those districts, there's 3 city councilors who will be elected within each district, for a total of 12 members of city council. And then the final change is one that's structural around the city government itself. It was a vote to approve a change in the form of government. We currently have what is called a commission form of government. So we have individual bureaus that report directly to our city council members and the mayor. So collectively, that's a group of 5 elected officials, and each of them also set policy. So they're determining policy and they're directly managing bureaus and city operations. But what was voted on in the change was to move to a new form called a council mayor form of government, where you have kind of a city council that is main function is to establish and set policy, and then you have the mayor and a professionally hired city administrator position that oversees operations of the bureau of the different bureaus. This is very common form of government used throughout our country in different cities, and actually the commission form is a fairly uniquely used. There's somewhat antiquated form, and I think I'm sharing this, like, I know each of you have your own background and areas of expertise related to our government. So we'll dive into these changes as we move, as I continue in this presentation. And our understanding is that the reforms that voters approved are mainly to emphasize the city form of government, that the current form is not not serving communities and Portlanders in the way it needs to, and we need to move towards a structure and form of government that is more efficient, more effective, more equitable in delivering services to our communities. So how did we get here? So just to recap, it has been, the vote wasn't, this is moving before the actual vote in November 2022. Just based basic information around the city, we have a city charter, and that is the guiding document that determines how the government, what type of structure of government we have and how it runs. And that in our city charter requires that at least once every 10 years, that there is a commission brought together of community members to review and make any recommendations to that charter. And so the last time in which that timeframe came up was in December 2020, so there was a charter commission that was convened. It had 20 members, different members of the public, and they, over the course of 2 years, worked in reviewing the city charter and then coming up with a set of recommendations. And then they brought those recommendations to the Portland city government to bring to the ballot, because only a vote by Portland voters that is required to make changes in the city charter. So in November of 2022, that's when as Portlanders saw that on your ballot. It was measured 26,228. It was passed with a majority of Portland voters, 58% voting in favor of the charter amendments. And then it was the commission, prior to that, had worked very closely with many community groups, neighborhood groups, over 20 community-based organizations, did a lot of extensive outreach and engagement to hear from Portland residents on, what was working, what was not, and that really informed what came to Portland voters in the ballot measure. So that's just a little bit around the history. And so how are we? And where are we, right, in the current process, and how are we getting these changes implemented? Well, first, the immediate transition work is there's not a lot of time. The vote was in November 2022, and the new form of government needs to be in place by January of 2025. So there are a lot of changes, as you can imagine, that have occurred over these last 9 to 10 months and need to occur in the next year, 13, 14 months before we get to that time. There's really two main kind of categories of changes. One is really focused around election methods. So one, we need to administer a new form of voting, right? Ranked choice voting elections. There's extensive work that is needed around voter education, because it's a different type of voting. It's not just voting for one person, but you can vote for multiple people. So educating and getting information out around that change, and then decision around the districts. And then there's another category of changes that are part of this work, and that I won't read through all of these, but they involve how the council will operate differently, what the salaries are going to be of the city council members and mayor, and what type of structure that the organization of the city government organization is going to need under this new form of government, and several other areas. So just to give a high-level overview of the time frame, right? 2022 of November, that's passed. That's when the vote took place, and there's several preparatory work that occurred earlier. But just want to highlight the August 2023. It's kind of faded in this image, but there were some significant milestones reached just during this month, which was establishing the 4 districts and also setting the salaries of the elected officials. And those were both decisions made by independent public committees that were brought together and met. And then over the course of this month, actually today, earlier today, I don't know if it's still going on, I had to leave the office, but City Council was reviewing a proposed organizational structure for the new form of government, and the mayor and City Council members are in discussions and deliberations around what that is. That meeting occurred this afternoon, might still be attending, so occurring now. And then in 2024 and 25, several other things, including voter education and getting information out around that significant change. So a little bit about ranked choice voting, and I am glad to take questions and refer it to some of my team members who work directly on this, but the charter amendments include the switch, right, to ranked choice voting. And it means that instead of just having one person to vote for a particular office, that you can pick multiple candidates in the order of your preference, right? So, so this sample is kind of a simplified version for a particular office or district. If there's multiple candidates running, right, then you can vote for them in just your first, second, third choice, right, for example. The benefit of this is that if the person you voted for in your first position either doesn't have enough votes to win or has already met the threshold of winning, then your vote can be applied to other candidates, right, that were also high, like within your preference. So, so it helps to just ensure that like your choice around candidates is not unnecessarily wasted, and you know, it has more impact and reach for the candidates of your preference. So we are working closely with multiple counties because Portland voters reside across the Tri-County area, and we're working closely with them to coordinate the approach to administer elections in Portland in time for the upcoming election, which will be November of 2024. So. And then a little bit about the geographic districts. So again, currently we have had citywide elections for council members and the mayor, and we'll be moving to a 4-district model. And under this new system, 3 councilors will be selected per geographic district. And these are the new districts that were determined, and there was an independent committee, district commission that was convened, and they met over several months, all the way to the end of the summer, reaching out, working with a lot of partner organizations, neighborhood groups, demographers, right, to understand and the different options, and then made a decision around these districts. So District 1, as you can see, is the furthest east district. District 2 is the furthest north district, and then we have 3, which is in the central and southeast. This is where we are located in this district, and then 4 covers the southwest and west part of the city. And on our website, you can actually interact. There's an interactive map that you can enter in an address and find out where it falls within the district.
I have a question. So the little what is it, that the weird rectangle going in there, that's Selwood and, and Arden, what is it, Ardenwald? Johnson Creek, Ardenwald, this little.
Yes.
Yeah. They used to, we used to overlap
Yes.
with them, so,
Mhm.
yeah.
There was a lot of, comments and shared, this commission had released a draft, like options, or, different options, and there was public, meetings and hearings that the commission members held, to receive a lot of comments, yes, and that was.
I just wanted to make sure that that's actually still in there, because I knew that there was a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot, exactly, yeah. Yeah, and so I think this, I can, I'll share these slides after, but this is in case there are individuals who are interested in running for office, that this is some more information around the filing deadlines and where to go if interested. And again, I'll leave this slide deck with Anna to share out. And then this final portion I'd like to share is around both the government form and structure. So it is a significant change to move from a commission form where we have a mayor and 4 councilors to a mayor council form where we have 12 city council members, and the functions are changing as well. And so an important milestone that we have been working on is working with the elected officials' offices and our current city administrative officer to propose changes and necessary city code updates to actually operate and function under this new form of government. So there's a whole set of work that is occurring related to that. And also related to salaries, similar to the district commission, there was a independent commission over the summer also that was convened to study salaries and then make a determination around setting salaries for mayor, the auditor, and city councilors. So members of this commission included individuals with background and expertise in HR, salaries, government, and community. And so they, again, gathered a lot of feedback from community and had their own kind of, they explored and determined, made a final decision around setting these salaries.
I have a question.
Yes.
In other parts of the presentation, it says today and future. There's no
yes, that's a great point and feedback I can provide back for to update with this slide. So currently city councilors salary is at 122, around 120, 122. I don't have offhand the mayor and auditor salaries currently, but I will get back to you on that. I know it is in, there's a multi-page report that the commission published with that, and it does, it should reference that, and I think I'll also get, yeah.
I'd also like to point out that it doesn't mention the mayor in the other sections. The mayor, I'm assuming, is not one of the council members, but is in addition to.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. So the mayor, as we move to the new form of government, the city council is 12 members, and they're on this, they're setting policy. The mayor is an elected position, but serves as somewhat as an administrative function and directly hires and manages the city administrator, who then oversees all of the rest of the city, your operations and bureaus.
And does the mayor can vote on stuff with the councilors, like as a deciding vote? Or
only as a vote, tiebreaker.
Got it. Thank you.
And one more question.
Yeah.
So today there are fewer counselors than there will be, so there needs to be more money for 12 counselors at a slightly higher salary. How is that taken care of, you know?
Yes, I mean, so it is something that we have in the CAO's, the current CAO's office is working closely with the mayor's office and the current council and the budget office to determine and identify the budget for that, right? Because, yeah, there's more counselors, and it's also, so, yeah, so those projections are part of kind of both the one-time cost of transitioning to this new form of government and also ongoing, yeah. So I'll get into a little bit of that later, but would be glad to follow up with more details. And then finally, this part is around just how we organize the city structure. And this is the conversation that is live, right? As of that meeting I referenced at City Council, which has occurred today, is how, you know, as we move to a new form of government, how we will structure our city and the different bureaus and offices to actually effectively, efficiently, and have realistic span of control around different positions to be able to deliver the essential services and necessary resources to Portland communities. So this graphic is a kind of more simplified. It's actually, there's a couple layers of detail around it, but it's an overview around the initial proposal the CAO's office provided to City Council back in early September, which is, you know, moving to this new form. We will have a mayor, a city administrator, and then we're going to have 26. The city has 26 bureaus and different programs and offices, and so in just thinking through that, it's unrealistic to imagine one person as a city administrator having 26 direct report, you know, directors. And so, so in this proposal, it's saying that there would be a layer, an administrative layer of deputy city administrators that would oversee service areas, you know, around that would have different, you know, a few bureaus within each of that. So, so these are the different categories of service areas and kind of what is proposed under this new structure. Again, this is a proposal. What's reflected here, and City Council and the mayor are in active, yeah, discussions.
Those deputy city administrators, would they be hired by the city administrator?
Yeah, yes. At the time when the new form of government takes place, yes. And we have this upcoming year, next year, where it's going to be a transitionary period, and that's actually one of the things that a lot of the current city council members and mayor are deliberating about is, you know, what do we do in the meantime? Like, do we appoint, you know, interim, you know, but eventually, yes, it would be under the city administrator's purview to hire and directly manage the deputy city administrator.
Stephanie has a hand.
Yes.
Stephanie?
Oh, yes, please. I just want to verify. I understand that neighborhood associations are somewhere under the assistant city administrator, right?
That's right, yes. Yeah, this graphic represents the initial draft proposal that CAO Michael Jordan brought forward. There was one updated version, and the one that is being discussed has yes, the office, the programs, and it's also actually named as community and civic life under assistant city administrator in the office of the city administrator. Yeah.
So how is the city administrator being held accountable?
So they will be supervised and managed by the mayor. They will be part of a executive team that's comprised of deputy, the staff under them, in their supervision. And they will, even though they have directly report to the mayor, they will need to work very closely, with, city council members, although the relationship, is different, right, in the sense of like the current, our current structure.
No, I just try to, from how it registers with me, is that the city administrator has the most powerful position in that kind of organization.
Mhm.
And it's the only position that's not voted on. So that's why I think it's a very important moment to understand how actually councilors and
Yeah.
mayor are going to communicate and make sure that, that
Right.
city administrator actually functions within the will of
Yes.
the people.
Yes, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And per our city charter, it does, it would, and the amendments, right? The city administrator is hired by the mayor, but requires approval by the city council.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so I just wanted to.
I have a clarifying question. Can you? I want to make sure that I understand what you were saying earlier about the spot where the neighborhood associations loop in. So it's the mayor, the city administrator, assistant city administrator, and then not the 5 that are listed there, but another one that is not listed on this org chart.
So it's in this chart, so there are several light gray, bars below the assistant city administrator.
Yeah.
It would be there.
In which one of those?
So it had formerly been called community relations, and, I think some of so it'd be, it's called out specifically as community and civic life.
So community relations, then community and civic life, then neighbors associations. Is that?
So it is so currently neighborhood associations are within the Office of Community and Civic Life. So,
Right.
so, it is community and civic life.
And that's
With
going, that's gonna fall under community relations.
No, it's going to fall under just the assistant city administrator as a
Completely
separate.
separate.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I have a question, then the gray rectangle, second one down, city organizations, that doesn't mean city offices, that's not where neighborhood is.
Correct, right.
What are city organizations? I don't.
What are you,
City-
wait, what are you?
Community relations,
Oh, community relations.
that's the second, like,
Yeah.
No, on the very,
in the middle.
third column.
Oh, the third, city operations.
Oh,
City
Oh,
operations,
oh,
that is a separate, like kind of a service area, that is a cluster of different bureaus. That include, budget and finance, for example, and yeah.
Okay, I thought it said organizations, operation.
Yeah, I know, it's small writing on the graphic, so. But yes, and so just getting into the budget areas, there was some question about this before, but, and just before closing, I'd just like to say, how we have, throughout this transition, we want to share some information around the cost estimates. And prior to the election, so this is before we knew whether it was gonna be approved or not, the city budget office estimated one-time costs. And their estimate was between 12 to 18 million dollars over the 3 years of the transition, right? So the first 2 and then end of that first year, into the new form of government. And the city budget office also estimated annual ongoing costs. And so they, these are, their costs, they had acknowledged, were based on the information that they knew at the time, and there was a lot of unknowns, right? So much more will be known about the actual, like, closer projections of annual costs as council actually makes a decision around what the structure can be, right? So it's kind of, it has been, that's one of the challenges around estimating the cost is like, it needs to be based on actually projecting what the structure, is going to look like, and that decision is still, yet to be made, and hopefully will be made soon, so.
Why is there such a big difference between the low estimate and the high estimate? I mean, that's 8 million.
Because, the budget office frankly they were. They said they
layers
high
of,
level
you know.
error, like, or projections both ways, right, because of so many unknowns. And so it was a difficult estimate to make, and I think that's, and that doesn't, so.
A lot of wiggle room.
Yes, and then in terms of just the current, where today the city estimates around one-time costs are approximately 20 million. And that includes a one-time cost estimate around, the transition, managing this transition project, changes, election methods, facility improvements. And then city leaders have many upcoming discussions around what all the factors that are going to determine and further refine the estimated cost and actual costs, ongoing to the city.
Where do they think the money's gonna come from?
Well, that is a great question. So some of it is around restructuring, like, depending on, like, I'll take one example around staffing for council, right? Currently, there's a mayor and 4 council members who have fairly, like, I don't know, the mayor has multiple staff, I think in the 8, let's say, or I'm just, I can get these estimates just for illustrative purposes. And then when we're going to 12 council members, so if there'll be less, maybe 1 or 2 staff members per council, so there's some of that, and looking how does the structure and the staffing of it make sense. So there's some around that, and then it's just determining and working with the city budget office and the various leadership overseeing those areas to determine where those costs will come from, where will there be savings that can cover some of the positions and funds, and what new funds need to be identified.
Sonia has a question.
Yes.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think our city budget now is around $6 billion. And this is couch change, in a $6 billion budget. And the inefficiencies, the inefficiencies of what we've had will easily be saved here. So I'll shut up now.
Thanks, Sonia. Thank you. You're right on there with that. I mean, it's $6.8 billion, right? It's the city's budget for context. And there is a lot, right, that can be made more effective and efficient and
Well, I assume the bureaus are also having streamlined staff, because we don't have this double double activities anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that is the desire, right? That is the goal we're aiming for is, what we've heard from communities, we hear from employees, what we hear from city leadership, the importance of moving forward as a more unified city, in terms of policy programming. How do the community members access the city, right? Where do you go? Where do you contact or call, right? But that is,
Quickly flash that last screen, just one. Okay, so we're talking, it's billion.
Oh, so this one is 20 million specific to the transition, one-time estimated cost.
Over 3 years.
But yeah, the 6.8 billion we were talking about is the overall city of Portland's annual budget, yeah. Thank you. Yes.
So how would you, kind of, I know it's all still in the decision process, I assume, but how do you think that, grassroots, culture that Portland values so much, will function within that new system? So, this is not only about, neighborhood associations, we know that there are other organizations who also need to participate in that structure. So how will that kind of manifest?
Yeah, I think many of you could probably like share insights into this. I mean, one is around the formation of districts, right? And having 3 elected officials within your district that are representing the district, from the district, and also that are present within it. There's, City Hall, downtown, we have city chambers, that's gonna be updated, and the current council is very committed to looking into, kind of getting the district presence, right, the district presence of council members. And I think that accessibility and the leadership from within districts will help in identifying, the priorities of your neighborhoods, and being able to elevate those in the policy making room. But that's one example, but others might have other, yeah.
Stephanie?
Yes, pardon me if you've already addressed this, but are the representatives in each district also going to have, in addition to offices at City Hall, are they going to have local offices within their district?
It's a great question, and so I can just share so the current council and city council is the one that is having deliberations on this now, right? And there's a desire for the new council, the ones that are elected, to have both district and downtown, city hall kind of based offices. I mean, there's been differences in opinions of the timing of that. I mean, we can share, Mayor Wheeler had initially, and the workforce transition team had initially thought, let's focus on the city, the downtown offices and council chambers, and as new district elected officials are elected, they determine kind of where do they want to be located, right? But then other council members, including Commissioners Ryan and Gonzalez, have strongly proposed the importance of having district locations from the beginning. So I know that our team, city facilities, is trying to prepare and work a path forward on both at this time.
I see. Okay, thank you. It's so glamorous to be downtown, but I'm hoping we'll have some presence.
Yeah, I think, and they will need to have council chambers, and so that's like a practical, downtown gather together, and so it's practical that they would also need to have office space there, right? So, and.
Okay.
Are there any more questions?
I have a question. Yeah. So you showed the 4 districts as a color block. But I'm curious, can you say what neighborhoods are consolidated in those different blocks, or whatever you want to do?
I think that's something I can follow up with you on, with that information, like the district base and then based with the neighborhoods within that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that it is summarized in the report, but I will double check and get back to you.
There's
Yeah.
also a more detailed map,
Yeah.
available.
Okay, where do you find this? That looks like Katie knows.
That's a good question.
Yeah, so there's, so City of Portland transition, there's a web page, that has the map. I could forward it.
I'll get the information, I'll send it to her.
Okay.
Actually, if you could just send that to the board so we know.
That would be good,
And
yeah.
Have they, overlaid the federal congressional district with the state senate district and the state representative district?
So I believe you can do that on the map, because it's on, it's like a.
Archie.
Like you can overlay that, but I know that it was, deliberate, I mean, it was. There's a capacity to do that on that map feature, and.
there's actually, the elections, for.
Election commission?
Well, like the county elections, they're gonna be able to tell you what each district that you fit in for.
Cause you're gonna be able to enter your address and it's gonna be different for,
Oh, yeah.
things, so.
You were referring to like just being able to see it in the map overlay, the four.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how somebody who doesn't have.
Internet.
No. But it's just a mechanical difficulty
Mhm.
of figuring out, and then the neighborhood association.
Yeah,
You know, how that fits in. And it's gonna be it's gonna be kind of messy.
Well, we historically had anyhow these, two different, county districts in our neighborhood, right? So we already had that situation.
mhm.
I think we might have dodged that one with this redistricting though, for the Woodstock, for Woodstock.
Now, we still have the third congressional district,
Yeah.
which is mostly Clackamas. And it's mostly to the east of us, but there's a good slice of Woodstock. That third congressional. district.
Okay, just if there are no other questions and for the sake of keeping at least a little in our time frame,
Yeah, and
I would say thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So much
So
for coming.
I have some handouts, elections and ranked choice voting. This is just an overview, but know that there's going to be a lot more information coming out early and mid to next year. That's really around, voter education.
And those are just gonna be like mailers. to
Yeah,
everybody.
sessions that we would like to do. We're working with community organizations and we would love to come back to share with you those resources and we would hope and.
That'd be great.
And that's part of
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll leave this sheet if you're interested in getting on the Portland transition web email updates. You could fill this out and then you could just send me a picture of this or something
Yeah.
and I'll forward you the PDF of the.
That would be great, so we can share it, yes. Thank you so much.